Hi, I'm joined today with Dorothy Kret, or Dot Kret, of DKA, a Tucson-based company. So, Dot, tell us a little bit about your company.
DKA has been around for more than 30 years. Our mission statement when we started and today is we help people become employable and employed. And to that end, we offer a wide variety of job training programs, job development programs, and skill training and occupational training to help people enter the workforce, re-enter the workforce, get a job, and keep their jobs.
So, Dot, what was your inspiration for starting this company?
Takes me back to when I was a kid. I lived on a cul-de-sac, and there was zillions of kids living in this area. And one of my neighbors, they had 5 kids. Their second oldest son, Rusty, was best friends with my brothers to the point where I considered him my fourth brother because we were always over at the house and always hanging out. And when I was 10, um, everybody noticed that Claude, Rusty's dad, who was Mr. Athletic, Mr. Inherent Coach, and he would organize all the kids into these different events. And he started falling. And the falls got worse and worse. And he was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy. And over the course of about 6 months, a summer when I was 10, we all watched in horror as he withered away and died. And all the kids were tested, and Rusty and his older brother Jay had active muscular dystrophy themselves, even though they'd been asymptomatic up to that point. The girls were just carriers. But we started seeing Rusty and Jay exhibit symptoms, starting out with a pretty pronounced limp, an antalgic gait, needing a cane, needing a three-footed cane, needing a walker, all of that. And by the time I got to high school, Rusty was in a battery-operated wheelchair. And one particular day, he'd approached me when we were in the school cafeteria and asked me to go with him and my brother to see the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey. And I know totally that I'm dating myself here, but that was the movie. And since it was science fiction, I had totally no interest because I was not into science fiction then. So Rusty and I were talking about this movie, and he's trying to convince me this is a great movie and I should go with him this weekend when this third kid walked up, who was in our class, and started talking about this movie and telling me what a great movie it was and that I should go and see it because it was this great movie. And what I noticed was during this conversation, he never once looked at or talked to Rusty. He was always looking at me and asking me questions for Rusty to answer. And at one point I got so frustrated that I looked at him and said, "Why don't you ask him? His legs don't work, but his brain's fine." And I turned on my heel and I walked away. And that night, as usual, Rusty was at our house for dinner, and I was still, morally outraged at this, and started ranting about how horrible it was that this guy never looked at you, he never talked to you. And Rusty was very calm and very matter of fact, and he told me it happens all the time. He said, once you start using a wheelchair, you become invisible. And I was still getting chills even this long ago because the thought of anybody being invisible was just so alien to me, and I was so opposed to that I couldn't let go of that thought. And it's been all these years and I still can't let go. And that was like the kernel, the seed that grew into DKA, because one of the places that people with disabilities are most often invisible is in our workforce. So it kind of all came together as I graduated high school, went to college, chose rehabilitation as my major, particularly in the employment arena. So Rusty's been gone for several years now, but he still is the inspiration for us being here.
Wow, what an incredible story. What are the requirements for someone looking to join your program?
Our primary funding stream is through behavioral health. So people, in order to get services funded by the behavioral health community, they have to be on access, preferably one of the 3 major insurance plans, Banner, United, or what's now known as AZCH, used to be Simpatico. So if they're members of one of those 3, they're automatically in access. If they're in access, then they can still come and apply. On our website, we have a self-referral form that people can fill out online. They can print it out and send it in, or they can just come in the front door and say, "Hi, I'm here," and fill it out. It's that's really, they need to, well, they need to want to work too. They need to want to get a job. That's kind of important. But in terms of the requirements, that's really it. They have to be part of the behavioral health community in order to have their training paid for by behavioral health. So we also contract with DES Vocational Rehabilitation, which is largely for people who have physical disabilities, can get services there. We can get referrals from Voc Rehab, and we also have a program through the Pima County Workforce Investment Program, which works with people who, as we refer to as unemployed or underemployed. So for that, they can go into either of the two one-stops, one's at Keno and one's at Rio Nuevo, and get into their system and then get referred here.
Great. So I saw on your website that you do short-term internships. Why don't you tell us a little bit about those?
So we have training programs where people can learn a whole variety of skills. So here at our office, we have clerical training where they can sit with our receptionists and learn about all types of office equipment. They can learn about answering phones, taking messages, sending emails, all the office-related skills that you need in order to be a front desk person, a receptionist, that sort of whole industry. And they can do that here at our office. We also have custodial skills training here at the office, and we also have a training program at the Pima County Department of Transportation where they do scanning services, and that one is at the county. We also have a company called Archive Digital Advantage, which is owned by DKA, and for our customers in the community, we do scanning and digitization, everything from large-scale scanning services like if a company wants to go paperless, we can scan in all their financial records, employment records, what have you. And then for folks who want to have their old technology digitized, everything from photos, slides, negatives, vinyl, video, 8mm, vinyl like 33s, 45, 78 records. We take that old technology and make it new technology so that you can now have it on your cell phone or your laptop. And I bet you know somebody who still has their wedding video and no longer has a VCR to play it on. We can digitize that and give it to you on a flash drive, email it to you, put it on your phone, whatever. And in that case, all of our production team are people with disabilities learning computer skills by doing all these jobs. So they learn about the different types of software. They learn about how to construct files, how to save, how to copy, all of the different tasks that are involved in that, which is, of course, going to help them get a job moving forward. And then we also have, we're part of a national franchise called PackMail, Pakmail. It's a packing, crating, shipping company, and it's located on Broadway and Country Club. And again, our production team are all people with disabilities learning about customer service, retail, and the logistics industry. And we have pretty close to 100% placement rate for people who get trained at PackMail going in and getting jobs. And as you know, logistics is a huge growth industry in Pima County. And so people can get jobs anywhere from Amazon or the Target warehouse, UPS, FedEx hubs, anything like that, or companies that have their own shipping department. It's very valuable training. People really enjoy it when they're there, and they get jobs.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So, what would you say to somebody who may be thinking about joining your program but isn't quite sure?
Come on by. We'll give you a tour. We can show you all the different options. You can talk to people who have been through the program before and find out what it meant for them. We do have a lot of support services too, so if you're not quite ready to find a job because you are concerned that you don't have good enough computer skills, well, we have computer classes. We cooperate with Skillsoft, which has more than 12,000 online courses that people can take. So we have computer classes. We have a PDE program, which is a peer support group where people talk about job interviews, and we review with them how you deal with your disability in a job interview. What are your rights? How do you deal with it when you get hired? At what point do you disclose? How do you talk about it? Those sorts of things. What do you need in order to get a job? Just to make sure, because, it's not just like getting a job, it's getting a career, and it's also taking control of your life going forward. So people who, know that they're at a place that they need to move on from, this is great for that, because we look at people as, whole individuals, not just, the job. So we look at everything that's involved. Do you have the appropriate transportation? Do you have appropriate clothing? What about daycare? What about housing? All of those things that can help help you get successful at a job, or cause failure if any of those things aren't working right. So there are some steps that people can take if they're not sure, to come in, and we have ancillary services that can help you make a decision of, what do you want to do from now on? Where do you want to go, and who do you want to be? So we can help you answer those questions.
Great. Thank you so much for your time today. So if you have any more questions about DKA or want to learn more about the company, go ahead and visit dkajobs.com. You can also like them on Facebook at DK Advocates or on Twitter at DK Advocates. Thank you so much, and goodbye.